Guys, today's Collector Spotlight series features Adam Gray. He is the editor and creator of Basketball Card Fanatic magazine, which is the most entertaining and most educational piece of hobby content out there in print form or in digital form. We have recently announced an affiliated partnership with the Cajun Cardboard channel, so you can do two things. A, you can get a 10% discount on your purchase and your subscription to Basketball Card Fanatic magazine. And you can use the promo code Cajun, all capital letters, CAJUN, and a little portion of your subscription will come back to support yours truly, the Cajun Cardboard YouTube channel. Today's episode is not an infomercial. We do talk a little bit at the end, so stay tuned till the end about Basketball Card Fanatic magazine. But this is a long form podcast type video where we're going to talk about all things basketball, basketball cards, maybe even mention some Utah Jazz players from years past. Hopefully you guys enjoy the video with that. Are you tired of selling your cards on eBay, creating the listing, taking the pictures, front, back, shipping, non-paying bidders? Let the pros at Fanatics Marketplace do all of the work for you. I do. That's why I use Fanatics for my vaulting and for my selling. If you've got a bunch of unwanted inventory that you've been sitting on for days, weeks, months, years, ship it to Fanatics Marketplace and let them do all the work. Just make sure when you ship it, you use the promotional code Cajun, all capital letters, CAJUN, and tell them that Cajun Cardboard sent you, and let the pros do the rest at Fanatics Marketplace. Hey guys, Brian with Cajun Cardboard coming at you from the great state of Louisiana with another edition of Collector Spotlight, and this one is going to be smooth like butter. It's going to be super easy. We've got Adam Gray on the channel. Adam is a brand new owner of a puppy. Adam, you didn't know I was going to bring that up, did you? Welcome to the show. So excited about having a new puppy. Adam, I'm glad you're with us today, man.
To be clear, we don't own the puppy yet. We're in the let's see if this is a good idea stage. But when you have 4 kids and you're a dad who likes the happiness of your 4 kids, you may as well own a puppy at that point.
You're in the due diligence stage. You're leasing with an option to purchase the puppy. I understand. You have a big fan. You have 4 kids and a wife, and now 2 animals, right? And so I've got 7 kids. So we have always made the decision, no animals in the house. There's just too much going on, too much responsibility. It's going to fall on Brian or Mrs. Cajun one way or the other. And so I've kind of put my foot down. You, however, sir, are a new puppy owner. All right, I'm not going to belabor that point. I know it's a sore subject. All right, let's get cranking. Who are you? What are you doing here? Who are you? You talk, and I'm going to screen share. Go for it. I want everybody to know what you're doing here and why I've got you on the channel, Adam.
So I am a longtime basketball card collector fanatic, and it's been a part of my life basically since I was a little kid. And I always tell people I'm one of the really weird people who, once like junior high and high school hit, I never got out of the hobby. I always just did it. I always collected cards. The only quick break that I ever took was when I went to England for a couple years to serve a church mission. And outside of that, like, I've just been a collector forever. I worked at a card shop for 6 or 7 years. I flipped cards into buying my putting a down payment on my first house and my undergraduate and my master's degree back in the early, the mid 2000s. And so buying and selling cards has been a big, important part of my life, really, for, since I was a little kid. Like, I started selling cards when I was like 12. So
yeah.
So it's always been a big thing. And then now I have, like, people are always like, what are you doing? Like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, okay, I run a magazine, which is called Basketball Card Fanatic. Is a monthly periodical that goes out digitally and via print, with probably most of your subscribers already know about. I create content for a number of auction houses and other companies in the world of cards. And so you'll see that on my Instagram at the Real 27 Guy. And then I also do a podcast, the Basketball Card Podcast, which is, of the 3 things, the thing I spend easily the least amount of time on. I basically press record and talk about something that I've written a couple of notes on, but sure. I think a lot of people probably have heard of that too. So those are the things that I'm doing, and they're not always connected, but those are the things that I'm doing. And I love all of them. They're all a lot of fun. And that's what I That's what I do for a living. The last thing I'll tell you is I came from the world of finance. So I'm a CPA, and I worked in the world of venture capital and private equity for about 12 years. And then a few years ago, I just decided I wanted to work in cards full time. And so now I've sort of become this, like, my tagline is it says there in my Instagram, is telling the stories of the hobby. I like to tell stories about the hobby, and that's what I do for a living.
You are data driven. You like to ask the question why, which is how I stumbled upon you. Number one, ironically, I stumbled upon you when I was looking for basketball card related content, and I jumped onto, I think, Spotify, maybe, Adam. And I started listening, and of course I was way behind. You had been doing it for a year or two or something like that. And so I had a bunch of episodes to catch up on. So I just kind of binge listened. And that's actually, ironically, how I stumbled upon you. This was before I was on Instagram, before I was even messing with Facebook, when I just got back in the hobby. So that's kind of how I discovered you. Adam's IG page, go follow him now. Get it over with. It's The Real 27 Guy, all one word, no spaces. By the way, and my phone's going to go off in the background because I do have unlike you, I am jealous. I actually have another job that I'm doing here, right? I'm trying to feed these kids and pay bills. I wish I was full-time hobby, but I'm not there yet. Adam, tell me how you got the IG tag, The Real 27 Guy. What's that?
So I, on eBay for a long time, had been the 27 guy. And then when I got on Blowout Cards, I was the 27 guy. But then when I went to get on, Instagram, the 27 guy was taken by somebody who has one picture of their cat up and they don't have any followers. And I messaged them like 50 times saying, can I please have this? Can I please pay for it? They never replied to me. And so I just tried to come up with something else. But then what's funny is people will say to me all the time, you're the real guy 27. And I'm like, no, it's not. The emphasis is not on guy. 27 was always my lucky number. And there's two stories, and I'll just briefly share them. If I might, is that okay? Can I share?
Yeah, sure.
So, when I was 9 years old, I started putting together the 86-87 player set. And that was impossible as a 9-year-old in the mid 90s who had no money. But I would go into my card shop every week and buy like a common. There was a common box, and I could spend my $2 allowance on one card. And I did that for months and months. And I got most of the set. And you can guess, I got to 31 cards and then didn't have the Jordan. And I never thought I'd find the Jordan. But then one day I walked into the card shop, and on our bid board, which is like an old school auction wall where you could write down on a tag how much you were willing to pay, somebody put up a Jordan rookie that had 7 creases in it. And I bought it for $27. And and I own it today. I don't even know how many Jordan 86 Fleers I've owned at this point, but I still own it today. I still own that set. I've had it since 1990. I finished it in 1998. So I've had it that whole time. The other story, and you're gonna love this, Brian, if you haven't ever heard this before. In 1999, when Legends basketball came out.
Wait. What did that have to do with 27?
I spent $27 on the card.
Oh, $27. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm Cajun, man. I'm down here in Louisiana. I was hyper focused on what did the Jordan grade? And I missed the punchline of the story, which was $27.
It graded at 1.5. And by the way, everybody who listens to you knows you're one of the smartest people in the whole hobby. So I love it when you all do. I'm from Louisiana. Everybody knows how smart you are, right?
It gives me an edge. It gives me an edge in the card market.
I listen to your Monday morning show, and I go, okay, Brian knows about most of these things, and the things you don't, you're like totally self-defacing. You'll be like, oh yeah, I don't know anything about that. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I know you are one of the smartest people in the hobby. So last thought, you're gonna like the story. 99 Legends. I've always loved the Legends products, the ones that talk about the history of the game. And this is where you and I, if we're not careful, we could spend literally hours just talking about the history of the game. But this box came in, or a case came in of Legends. It was the first time that we had this box in, and each of the boxes had, do you remember the old NBA hologram that had like the little, this is licensed by the NBA?
Sure, of course.
So the boxes were consecutive at that point, and they were from 21 to 33 or 32 or whatever, 12 boxes in a case. Well, in that case, so 27 had been my lucky number at that point. But I was like, I don't want 27. I need 23. I got to pick the 23 box. It had Jordan in it. So I opened my box. It was a really good box. It had a Paul Arizin autograph. It had a really cool floor card of Jordan with a piece of 3-point line. And it was a great box. I paid for the box. It was great. The next customer walks in, and he buys box 27. and he pulls the single greatest card that we ever had come out of a pack of cards, or in the history of the shop, the Michael Jordan autographed jersey card, which in 1999 or 2000, Brian, was so unheard of that you would even see one in person.
Yeah, you read about it in Beckett magazine, and that's it, right?
Yes, and it sold for $7,000 the next week, and that might as well have been $1 zillion to me. And dude, I said right there, then and there, like 27 is my number. I'm always going to be the 27 guy. And so here we are today, and that was way longer than you planned on.
Now I know. Now everybody knows. Also, follow Adam. Do me a favor. Let's get this out of the way. Follow Adam on Basketball Card Fanatic. Basketball Card Fanatic magazine. We're going to talk about this at the end of this episode. We now have an affiliate partnership. So this is also sort of an announcement to the world. I'm trying to, transition into kind of doing things in the hobby. I am only partnering with people and or entities that I know, trust, and use/care about in the hobby, right? So I vet anybody that I partner with. You're not going to see me, well, I can't now, I'm not going to disparage anybody either. I was going to say, there are a lot of entities in the hobby that I will not affiliate with, no matter how much money you throw at me. But Basketball Card Fanatic, if you like the Cajun Cardboard channel, you're going to love Basketball Card Fanatic magazine, because Adam's perspective on the hobby is similar to mine. He's younger than me, but we have a very similar perspective and kind of a similar story in the hobby, except that you beat me to being in the hobby full time. And as a way of providing for your family, you beat me to it. So I'm not there yet. So I'm following in your footsteps as far as that goes. At the end of the video, we're going to talk about Basketball Card Fanatic. It's bcfmag.com. Also, all the information you need to know about it is going to be in this and every YouTube video that I do in my description. So just scroll into the description about how to do it, how to use the promo code Cajun, all caps, just like the Fanatics Collect promo code Cajun, all caps. We'll talk about that later. All right, let's get cranking. Today, what entities, you talked about doing these IG reels. Those are fascinating to me. Those don't just, it's not like you just hit record and start talking like I do. You've got to do some research behind those. You've got to kind of pick and choose. Tell me precisely, which auction houses do you do those Instagram reels for, Adam?
Okay, so I do a couple every week for Fanatics Collect, and I do one every week for Alt. And then I have like, and I'm not going to name them all because there's 9 or 10 of them.
Okay.
But for each of these auction houses, basically there are significant cards that are up. Sometimes the cards aren't significant. Sometimes they're not huge dollar cards. But the idea is, and it's different for each of them, but the idea is, let's tell the story about the card in a way so that people can understand this is why collectors find it interesting.
Yeah.
And so it's not, I try to stay away a lot from the monetary side. I don't talk about the money side a lot. I talk about like the facts about the cards. And so, like what I do yesterday, I did one for Heritage, and it was about how they have they have 2 number pieces up right now, the Kobe and the LeBron, and then they have the Jordan that's coming up. And I looked at those 3 and I just said, man, it is a huge story that those 3 cards are up right now. And I thought, what's the way that I can tell this story so that people can understand A, how significant these are, and then B, like what the history is in a way that they can go, oh, that's why those are going to sell for crazy money. And it'll be interesting to watch them. And even if most of us aren't going to be bidding on these cards, they're probably all going to sell for 6 figures.
Right.
You could at least watch it and go, okay, now I understand why somebody appreciates that the way that they do. And here's what the history of it is. And so I feel like a lot of people talk about the financial parts of it, and there's nothing wrong with that. Those things are really important. But I think that if we could do a little bit more focus on like, here's what the reason is why people care about that more than just the athlete, because pretty much everybody understands like why LeBron or Kobe or Jordan are loved, but like why the number pieces set is different. Like, for example, people know that LeBron's rookie card is a photo shoot card, but did you know that the number pieces is actually piece of game worn jersey, and it's from that same set, and like all of the other things about it that are interesting. And so which of those 3 would you rather have? Like, that's a really interesting question. And so I sort of try to talk about those things.
It's a rhetorical question.
Yeah, and I never
I'm just kidding. Kidding. Yeah.
I try to ask questions in a way where it's like, what do you think? And whatever people think is great. I don't want people. I think people misunderstand me sometimes. They think Adam wants to influence us to think this way or that way. I more or less would like to just say, here's a question. What do you think the answer is?
Yeah.
And then whatever people like think, like on that reel, people think the Kobe's the best. And then people think the LeBron's the best. But most people think the Jordan's the best. And all three, I think, are really good answers for.
Well, look, it's clear you're doing exactly what you're paid to do, which is, hey, just a reminder, there's something pretty special going on. This one sort of stands out, and it's your job to lead people down the path. You can lead a horse to water. You can't make them drink,
Right.
but you do a great job of kind of laying the foundation and then letting people go from there. Maybe people, decide, you know what, Adam, that is a great card, but it's already overpriced. I don't want to mess with it. But maybe they click over into Fanatics Weekly or into Heritage or into Alt or wherever it is.
That's
and
right.
then they're like, damn, this thing's too low. After what I heard from Adam, maybe this thing needs to go a little bit higher. I wouldn't mind picking this card up for this price.
But let me add
job.
and thank you for the kind comments. Let me add this one last thing that I think is also important. People assume, and I think that it makes sense that they assume this, that my job is to try to get the items to sell for more. That's not my job. My job is to let people know that the items are up so that they're aware. But more than that, it's to remind people that the auction is happening.
Yeah.
Because if somebody goes, oh, those 3 items are up at Heritage, well, those are way out of my ballpark, but I now know that item's going and I still liked listening to Adam's reel, then I feel like I've done my job because
brand awareness. I mean, even if they don't click on it and go look at that particular card, like if you it's just brand awareness. It's a reminder. I'll be honest with you, man. You bring up a great point, and this is something we could do a whole video on this. There's a lot of auction houses out there. And by the way, there's also eBay, which is a pretty big, sales platform. I mean, it's a lot, man. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I'm not limited by capacity. Obviously, I can click on 8 different auctions going on. That's easy. It's just a time constraint. It's a familiarity with the user interface, getting registered with them, you do logins, passwords. I mean, I've got it to where, again, not to disparage any other auction houses out there, I've seen incredible pieces sold on, Heritage, Robert Edwards, Mile High, go down the list, 90sauctions.com. A good friend of ours is, obviously behind 90sauction.com. 2 good friends of ours, John and Josh. But, I've kind of pigeonholed myself into eBay, Fanatics Collect, dabbling in golden weeklies that end on Thursday. And that's pretty much it, to be quite honest with you, Adam. I just don't have enough time to scour the world. And I'm lucky enough, I've got a big mouth, right? You got a big mouth. I've got a big mouth. If there's a card out there that people know that I'm looking for or that you're looking for, we'll get back to you on Instagram. We'll be like, hey, I remember in a video you said you were still looking for this. Did you see this on? And then that's when I'll, investigate further and go check out an auction house that's a little bit off radar, There's a lot out there. Is there too many auction houses, Adam?
Well, I was going to say, it used to be where you would watch eBay and you would say, at least this is what I would do. I would say, did I find something here that wasn't listed as well as it could have been? Did I find something here that if I change the image on it and I include this word in the title, or if I get it graded or whatever, could I create an increase in value? Well, now what we have is we have so many auction houses that if you are well versed in when they're happening and how certain things sell there or might not sell well there, you might have some really cool arbitrage opportunities.
Unquestionable.
Just because you're aware, and especially if you know people and what they're looking for, man, it's so valuable. So the other thing that I want to say here is that the auction houses, man, they provide such a fantastic service that you don't always get on eBay. You might say, well, eBay has consignment guys, and I work for some of them too, and they're great. But sometimes the item needs to go to auction, or sometimes it needs to go to the consignment house. There's so many different ways to sell and buy. There's the financing arm of it. There's all of these things. And if you're really studying it and keeping your eyes open, you can have some really cool opportunities. And my goal is, like I said, to educate on the things that I think matter. I know people are going to argue with that sometimes, and I'm just going to do my best, and some people are going to be unhappy, and that's just the way that it is. But my goal is to educate in a way that people find entertaining and interesting. And then, as a byproduct of that, they go, okay, that item's up at so-and-so, and I need to go check that place out. And I think that the auction houses generally find value in that and have had success so far. But I also am aware, Brian, like my gig could end any day. These auction houses, any of them at any point could say, we've had enough of Adam. We don't need him to do this anymore. And so I've tried to stay humble with that and recognize that could happen anytime. But honestly, Brian, I've definitely lived a dream the last couple of years being able to do this full time. I've loved it.
Has anybody ever told you look a little bit like Matt Harpering? It's just now clicked. You look a little bit like Matt Harpering, Adam, a famous jazz player from the past.
Number 15.
Georgia Tech legend.
Yeah. I love Matt Harpering. That's a guy, we would say that's a guy with jazz DNA. He's just tough. Dude. Like, he's white. I guess that's part of the jazz DNA sometimes.
Yeah, well, you have to be on the jazz. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, let me ask you this. Wasn't Matt Harpering, I might be crazy on this, wasn't he a really good quarterback as well? I don't know why I recall. I thought he played quarterback at Georgia Tech as well. And then I think people were kind of shocked that he chose basketball almost along the Charlie Ward lines. I might be wrong with that. Y'all looking at first of all, we lost everybody. Nobody knows who Matt Harpering is except us, but we've lost people, right? I don't know. We can Google it. All right, let's just transition. Well, let me ask you this question before we get off the how to sell cards sort of deal here. I've got cobwebs on my YouTube studio. That's how much time I dedicate to content and not to cleanliness. If you have a $5,000 card and you're like, you know what, it's time for me to get out of this card. I found something else I want. What's the first place that you would go? I'm putting you on the spot to list it. Tell the truth. What is the first way you would try to sell that card?
I will tell you the truth, but it's going to totally feel like a cop-out, so forgive me in advance. Sure. It depends on where I'm buying that other card because in general, I've proven this unfortunately through my track record several times. I will buy a card before I sell it. So if I was to buy a card at Fanatics weekly, is there a good chance that I would then sell the card on Fanatics? Yeah, because then the two things are happening in the same place, and there's nothing sort of weird that has to transfer there. But I know most people aren't like that, and so
I'm not like that.
I think most people with a $5,000 card would look at it. That's right on that line where it's like, is it eBay? Is it an auction house? Right. And because some stuff, when it's really low end, you feel like I probably should go to eBay. Right. Yeah. It gets the eyes and it just sort of is what it is. But I think what we've seen, that's not always true. If you follow the Wharf, I'm sure you follow the Wharf.
Yeah, of course, Nick. Yeah.
Like he's sort of shown like a lot of that stuff has just been better on Fanatics. And the great thing about that is like you're also not doing any of the work. For me, and I'm sure it's the same thing for you. I don't want to do the work anymore. I don't want to do
price. There's a price for everything. And if you're giving me back time, I am willing to sacrifice dollars. And now look, 24-year-old, 27-year-old person who's scrapping and kind of fighting their way into the hobby. Maybe they don't share the same perspective that we do, Adam, but I'm old. I have very limited time, all sorts of family stuff, all sorts of hobby stuff, all sorts of work stuff going on. If you're going, I'll give you a couple percent just to make all of that time go away and to kind of take that out of my hand. What I was getting at is first place I'm going is Instagram. I'm going to try to sell a thing on Instagram myself for $5,000 or send out some text messages to people who collect those types of cards.
Yeah, that's true. That's a better answer. Like,
because you don't share with anybody. As much as I love Fanatics, as an affiliate partner of the Cajun Cardboard channel, I'm fine with taking 100% of my sales price. You know what? I'm fine with PayPal friends and family off of Instagram. It doesn't always work, but it's like it's a foolproof way to kind of net 100% on your sale. All right, let's transition to this.
The only thing, let me add one caveat to that. When you've got the $5,000 card that's knowable, you do that. When you have a situation where you're like, I don't know what this thing's worth. I don't want to take advantage of anybody, and that's. Look at your collection. A lot of your collection is like, I don't know what this card's worth. It hasn't moved in 6 months. Yeah. It hasn't moved in 2 years. Well, what do you do then?
Yeah. You vault at all? Do you vault any of your cards?
I used to. I have a couple things that are still in the vault, but for the most part, no.
Yeah. Let's just transition real quick into Jordan. We're getting in and out of Jordan in 5 minutes. I know I'm a Jordan channel and I'm Jordan centric. In and out of Jordan in 5 minutes. Give me your 5 best Jordan cards. Talk to me about your 5 best Jordan cards.
My 5 best Jordan cards are mostly inserts and a parallel from the 90s, as well as one autograph patch card. So I know the autograph patch card doesn't excite you. It does me. I love it.
It excites me. It excites me, dude. It's hard not to mosey on over to that world. It's impossible. And when you talk about the numbers pieces, I think that's probably the limited logos or numbers pieces is. I mean, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when I transition over there. Those two really, really appeal to me. Talk to me. Tell me about your autograph patch card.
So I'm going to do that, and then I want to tell you about a deal that I almost did recently. So I have the first Ultimate Collection autograph patch of Jordan, and so that's from 2000. Ultimate Collection was the first three-figure per pack product. People always want to talk about Exquisite, right? Exquisite's great, but everybody knows about it. Like I like the stuff where it's like, do the really smart people who understand the whole history understand it? And Ultimate Collection was $400 a box for 4 packs. And that's where it started, and it got more expensive than that, despite the fact that it didn't have LeBron James as a rookie, right? In 2000, literally the worst draft in the history of the NBA.
Worst year imaginable.
Ever, yeah. Right? Like, we're talking.
Is that Kenyon Martin?
Yes, Kenyon Martin, Romile Swift, Darius Miles, Marcus Fizer. The best players out of that draft are named Mike Miller and Jamal Crawford. It is the worst draft ever. So, but what they did do is they had this great autograph set, but there's like 8 different versions of those. There is one autograph patch of 3 different players, and they are Kevin Garnett out of 21, Kobe Bryant out of 8, and Michael Jordan out of 23. And I have that one, and I think
big time. That's big time.
I think it is, but I don't know if it sells for anything. It never moves. But okay, so that's my one big autograph patch card. Then I have a card that's near and dear to your heart, the PMG Championship. Mine's a BF9. I got mine graded myself back in 2016. I've had it for almost 10 years. I'm super proud of that. My favorite one's probably the Gold Fusion out of 40. I love that card.
Fusion Titanium, yeah.
Yep. And I always call it the Gold Fusion because they made 2 fusion cards. One's silvery looking, one's gold looking. They are exactly the same. You could just call it and then they made this mistake in the printing of this. I don't know if you've ever looked at this, but they made this mistake in how they titled the cards. So there's like all these weird names that you could use, but when you say Gold Fusion, everybody knows what you mean.
Yeah. So I thought it was Fusion Titanium is serial number for Jordan. I know, and I know they made a mistake on somebody's different color is numbered the wrong way, but I think Jordan Fusion Titanium is 40, and then just Fusion is 250, right? 250.
250.
Yeah, 250. 250. Yeah, I have the 250. I don't have the 40, so we'll talk after. I'm just kidding. Keep going. All right, you got 2 more.
The Playmakers Theater and the Slam Bams. I didn't even mention the Jambalaya. Those are my 6 best.
It's not in there because the Jambalaya, as beautiful as it is, look, I love it. I love the Jambalaya. It's not in that mix, man. It's behind Playmakers. It's behind Championship PMG. It's behind the Fusion Titanium. It just is. And it's behind the Slam. Well, you could argue it's ahead of the Slam Bams, which is interesting because the Slam Bams is 100 or 50?
100.
100. The Bams is 250.
Yeah.
And Slam Bams is 100. So I have the Slam Bams as well. Mine's PSA 6. What's your Slam Bams?
Mine's an 8.5, but if they would have crossed it at the National, it was either a 6 or a 7. I can't remember.
BGS 8.5, you mean?
Yeah, and I said no. Tell
me where you stand right now, Adam. I know I've said no on a couple of those crosses as well. Tell me where you stand on the PSA BGS as it pertains. Let's just stay in the 90s basketball world, Adam. Tell me where you stand with that.
I hate it. It's the single worst mistake I made in my history of the hobby. I graded all of this stuff myself back in the mid-20 teens. And so, and here's the thing is, I believe, like, if I would have gotten the PMG champ, graded back then with PSA, I think it would have been a 9, which would be a $500,000 card. But because I got it graded with BGS and it's a 9, now it's a 7 or an 8. And so it's not worth as much if I would have just graded it with somebody else. But the other part of this that you just can't look past is PSA has done a better job, especially because they have their insurance guarantee thing that allows them to say, like, this was fake. Now we're going to give you, we're going to give you your insurance or whatever. Like the mistakes that they've made right. Whereas the mistakes that Beckett has made, you're sort of like, so it's just not as good. But this is what I hold to, Brian. This is where I've landed. Okay. This is different than everybody else. This is where I've landed. I know where mine came from. I know the lineage of the cards. I know they're real. I have no question about whether they're real. They were willing to cross all the cards to a lower grade than they are. And I just looked at it and I said, I'm not going to spend tens of thousands of dollars to get things into a different holder, even though I think that different holder looks better than the current holder that they're in. I think that's worth acknowledging too. I'm not going to do that because they're real. And I think the people who buy them, if I was to ever sell them, would also know that. But there's this little part of me that's like, Adam, you idiot, you need to get it in a PSA holder because everybody's going to then know that it's real. They're going to know that it's legit. And so it's tough, man, but I don't plan on selling them. So anyway,
here's the dilemma. The dilemma is that all of the new money that's come into the hobby, you know, Adam, what I've noticed lately, and I haven't really talked about it much on the channel, but there's new money that's come into the hobby, but a bigger issue with 90s basketball card collectors is that there's people that have been in the hobby doing ultra modern that have slowly taken a time machine back to our decade, right? There's Mahomes collectors that are now buying Jordan. There's, you know, Giannis collectors that are now buying Jordan and Kobe. There are, you know, Juan Soto and Acuna collectors that are now buying Shaq and Kobe and Jordan and all the stuff from the 90s that we love. Those folks were inundated with PSA or bust, right? Because they came into the hobby in, you know, 18, 19, 20, 21 when PSA was undisputed king of grading. Like no one would ever send an ultramodern card to Beckett if they were trying to buy low, sell high, buy raw, grade, flip. It was PSA or bust. So they don't remember when BGS was king. And BGS was king. And I know BGS was king because in 2003, when I opened a bazillion boxes of Topps Chrome for $110 each, yes, I am old, and yes, I wish I could have bought a bazillion more. I graded all of my LeBron collection, all of my Wade collection, all of my Carmelo collection, and all of my Bosch. Yes, people graded Bosch back then because we knew he was going to be a Hall of Famer. He's a stud. All of them with BGS. So I've graded everything with BGS. So I know BGS was king. When did that transition occur where BGS kind of officially gave way to where the consensus is PSA over BGS? Was it a dollar thing? Or do you think it was the buyback guarantee? What do you think it was? Or was it turnaround time? Was it price? Why did BGS lose so much market share to the point now where, I mean, as far as new cards, they're irrelevant. I'll still buy BGS cards from the 90s all day long. Yeah. But as far as getting new ones graded, I wouldn't even consider it.
I feel like it happened slowly. It happened over 20 years. There was absolutely a point where it was like it was a no-brainer. And even a couple of years ago, I would have said that if a card was a thicker stock, you should still send it to Beckett for sure. I think, you know, there was this time maybe 3 or 4 years ago where it just became so clear and the whole market has sort of gone that way and the guarantee has made a real difference. But I'll give you an example of something that I saw today that just makes me just shake my head and wonder what Beckett can do. There's a guy, I can't remember his name, so forgive me for this, but there's a guy who was posting about a Shaq Playmakers Theater on his Instagram.
Craig from Australia, NBA cards.
Okay, you saw him. Okay.
Yeah.
And so he posts this story where he's like, so the first thing you got to know about this is if you see one in a BGS holder, you need to run. And I'm like, well,
investigate further for sure.
That's a better way to say it, right?
Yeah.
Like, but here's the thing, Brian, most people aren't going to do that. They're not. They want to know that it is what it is. And if it's not, then they'll be taken care of. And that's why people
I'll wait till the PSA comes up. I'll just wait. They'll just put it all.
And here I am with a BGS 8 Jordan from the exact same set. It is a wonderful card, and it is legit. And everybody who knows, right? But like, if I ever go to sell that, like, let's say I buy some huge card, like I've done a couple times, and I need to sell stuff. And I go to sell that card, and that's not impossible. That could happen. What do I do then? Do I look at it and go, shoot, I'm going to not make as much as I would have made? Or it's just a crappy situation that we find ourselves in. I hate it.
What's the conversion rate that you are okay with? What's the conversion rate, Adam? If you know, let's say we walked up to Nat together at next year's National in Rosemont in Chicago, and you had your Jordan Playmakers Theater BGS 8, and Nat says this will cross to a 7, yes or no?
Well, you're paying $500 for that.
Yes or no? $500.
Am I selling it?
No. Are you? No, I don't care.
If I'm keeping it, the answer is no, right? Unless the change, like I had my Curry that crossed. My Curry that crossed, the change in value was so significant, I had to say yes.
You told me. Yeah, but that went up, right? Yeah. Your Curry crossed upwards. I'm talking about crossing downwards. How much is too much of a downward numerical, conversion rate? To where you're just like, I'm not paying $500 to drop 2.5. 2.5 grades for me is too much.
My
Right.
answer is whether I'm selling it. If I'm not selling it, I'm just not going to spend that $500.
I understand.
Unless I feel like the change in value is just so significant that I have to. It becomes like a numbers thing for me, but I'm not sure that's the right answer. I'm still sort of developing that in my mind. And
I don't think
I hate that it's a thing. I've only crossed that card at National, the Curry, and one other card with it ever. Those are the only cards I've ever crossed. I don't want to think about it. It's not the part of the hobby that I like the most, but we have to ask the question because it's so much money.
There's people that can move in and out of BGS and PSA, and you honestly could have a hobby career doing that. Honestly, sometimes I wish I had 24 hours a day to just buy BGS 9s and BGS 8.5s that I think would cross to PSA 9s, and every once in a while a 10, which in some cases is, magnitudes more as far as value goes. It's interesting. The PSA BGS transition and flip flop as far as who's king of the hobby is something. And something else that we didn't mention, and we won't take too long on this. I don't do it. PSA Set Registry matters, brother.
It does.
That matters, and that has a lot to do with why some of these PSA 10 Jordans are going for bananas prices right now. It has a lot to do with why some of the 90's insert set PSA 10s go for big numbers, because you don't get any credit for your BGS, 9.5 East-West refractor, but you do for your PSA 10.
Are most of your big cards, are they all PSA, or do you have some that they're not?
I'm just like you. I got a PMG red. It's BGS 8.
Right.
Championship PMG is I'm trying to think what else.
Wait, your champ is PSA 8, right?
My championship is PSA 8.
Yeah, that's a huge card. It's a huge card.
Yeah.
So your 8 sold, or 8 and 8 sold right after a BGS 9 sold, and the 8 sold for more by a lot.
That's the confusion. You can see how someone new to the 90's card collecting world, whether it be Jordan, Kobe, Shaq, whoever, would be very confused by that, right? Like we've said, the old age-old euphemism or the age-old colloquialism in the hobby is, buy the card, not the grade. But you better play the game, or you could get crushed. You better play the game. You better pay attention to the grade for sure. Because if you think you know what a card's going to grade with PSA, I got another thing coming. I got about a 35,000 sample size to say you don't know. And ironically, guess who's following you on the YouTube channel tomorrow, Adam? The great Nat Turner. He's coming on tomorrow. Yeah. So you're a leadoff hitter. You're the Ricky Henderson. Nat's coming right behind you, batting second.
Okay, can I tell you my Nat story right now then? Is that okay? Okay, so I don't know Nat really. I don't. I've sold him probably 10 to 15 cards over the years. Yeah. And so he's not somebody like I wouldn't say I really know him, but I got the chance to meet him at the National and got to cross the Curry with him, which was really cool. That was neat. But so I want to tell you this story because you're going to I don't know what you're going to do, but you might have already heard it too. I don't know. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. I told a couple of the guys that are in your MJ group about it. And so they might have told you, but I have, the PMG champ, but Nat has a Logo Man autograph of Jordan when he was with the Wizards. Okay. Yep. So Jordan only has like 7 Logo Man autographs, period. Like where it's a single Logo Man and autograph. He's got some more duels and stuff, but it's a really small number. He's got 7. 3 of them were from the original 2002 Upper Deck set, and that was the first time that autograph Logo Man cards were made. Kobe's also in that set. I have one of the 3 Kobe cards, and it's like one of my best cards. Maybe
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen you post it. It's big time.
So yeah, and I love that card, and I gave up a lot for it and all that other stuff. But I got this like in my mind a little while ago. Like, wouldn't it be amazing if I could figure out a way to like pair Jordan with Kobe, like from the first Logo Man autograph set? That'd be like the most amazing thing ever. So I tried, and I messaged him. I don't even know how many times I messaged him, but I've tried every single way possible that I can get that card. And I've offered lots of crazy things, but I just can't get him. I have never been able to get him to say yes, which is
I've never seen him sell a card ever.
And so that's probably it. He's probably just, but I made it difficult on him. I know I did, because I said, here's like a whole bunch of stuff that you could have that you would love. And I know that there's stuff that he would love. So I really gave it a try, but here's my question for you. Do you think I'm crazy that I was willing to give up my PMG champ for the Logo Man auto in a Wizards uniform?
No. You're just talking dollar for dollar. What's the PMG champ worth? 200 to 300, 250? I don't know. I'm guessing.
Probably 200. It's worth less than yours.
It's 200, 250. I mean, There's 7 logo man Jordans. You can put them in a Wizards uniform. You can put them with tuxedo or in Hanes underwear. I don't care. I mean, there's 7 of those things out there, Adam. Now, that's not what I collect, so I'm coming at it from a different perspective. But even I, who live and only live pretty much in, up to 1998, I'd probably pull the trigger on that. I'm not saying I wouldn't get that logo man, then sell it and go back and buy a championship PMG and then buy a Tesla as well.
But if I could get that and put it next to the
cool
Kobe.
pairing. Yeah, you know how I feel about the pairings, right? I love how the pieces to the puzzle fit together. So a lot of my stuff that I post on Instagram is like, these 3 mean something. Maybe it's Robin, Pippen, Jordan, or maybe it's this PMG, or the 86 Fleer rookie, the 86 sticker rookie. There's a million ways you can pair and trio cards together, and that's one of the fascinating things about the hobby. I love that. Also, what I think is going to become a really big thing in the hobby is kind of LeBron / Jordan pairings. Like you were, recently talking about your IG reel that you did with the numbers pieces. I think that once LeBron does retire in 2039, right, when he's 67 years old, I think people are going to start posting both. And I think a lot of people that I don't think you're going to see a lot of Jordan collectors all of a sudden say, you know what, I'm going to collect LeBron as well, because Jordan collectors, and I'm part of them, I have both hands raised, are very stubborn, hard-headed people, and they don't like the way LeBron's done it, right? Off the court, he's great, forget it, but the way that LeBron's done it, the Jordan people will not have it. So I don't think you're going to see Jordan collectors transition to collecting LeBron, but I do think that a lot of the LeBron collectors eventually will transition into Jordan, just like Mahomes and just like Ken Griffey Jr. and Bonds and every other collector out there in the world has gradually found their way in some way, shape, or form into the Jordan market.
It's going to be really interesting to see how people react to LeBron as the years pass, because his numbers are going to just totally dwarf, his accounting stats are going to just totally dwarf
aggregates.
Everybody's. Yeah,
everybody.
Like everybody, forever. It's just going to be incredible. But I'm like you, where I'm like, man, like, I just don't like how he's done it, but he's done some things so amazingly well, right? Like you say, the off the court stuff, like you just couldn't hope for him to be better than he's been. But like the leaving teams with no draft picks left over and over and over again, and doing that so that he can go get the championships. I would have preferred if you could change places right now. Okay, so tell me your take on this. Take LeBron, who he is right now. Say he stayed in Cleveland the whole time. He only won 2 championships instead of 4. He has all the same stats, but he was just a Cleveland guy, right? How would you view that in terms of the GOAT conversation compared to how you view him now?
Well, before I answer that, I literally have a video releasing today, and it's LeBron's teammates versus Jordan's teammates.
Okay.
And it's a comparison and contrast between those two. And I'll let people watch the video and make a decision. But I had a guest on the channel, Coach Pixley, and I asked Coach, I said, Coach, are we sure that LeBron wouldn't have more than 4 rings if he'd have just stayed in Cleveland start to finish? Are we sure about that? Now, he wouldn't have gotten the 2 Miami ones. But, man, we're 21 years in deep. He might have more than 4 if he'd have just stayed in the same place and let the GMs do their job. He even could have been the puppeteer and done it the same way, because now it's not like it used to be where you needed to be in LA, New York, or Boston, or a big market to do. People are doing it in small markets. I mean, Jokic is, I don't know. Again, I don't know if he'll ever get to 6, but what if he'd had 4 rings? Let me flip the question on you. What if he had 4 rings and never left Cleveland? What if he had 21 years of service in Cleveland and had 4 rings? Everybody would have a different perspective on him. The guys that love him would love him more, and the folks that are stubborn and say he's a team hopper or he's a manipulator, they would love him like for staying and pulling a Dirk, right?
He would be.
We'll never know.
We'll never know, but I would have loved it so much more. I would have
loved it so much more too. I'm curious now, and we'll never know the answer to that. And that led to the question: what if Jordan, when he came back for those 2 years, everybody's like, well, Jordan didn't win anything at this age when he came back. I was like, well, he's playing with Jahidi White and, Jarvis Hayes. And so that's, part of it. What if Jordan had come back and played for the Spurs or the Lakers, right? And been a beta to the alpha, Tim Duncan or the Kobe or the Shaq or whatever. I mean, you're talking about a whole different world. Like Jordan would have, 8 rings, I guess, but that would almost diminish his legacy, I think, if he came back and was the beta.
So I think we've gone off the rails here totally, but I have to say this real quick. So whenever people talk about the greatest of all time, I think a lot of times what they should just do is they should actually distill that question down to like what they actually mean. And so some people take it to like a level of talent, like who's the most talented. So you're not gonna like this. I think LeBron's the most talented player ever, and I just think that's the
physically
case.
He's whatever.
He's the most talented.
Yeah. Who else is there like him?
Yeah, and he's done it for so long and all that other stuff. But he's also had the benefits of modern medicine and so many of those things, right? So instead of asking the question, who's the best, and just leaving it out there, I think I think of it as whose career, what accomplishments are the greatest. And the greatest accomplishments, like the career that I look at and I go, wow, the most, it's Jordan, and it's easily Jordan. And the thing is, once LeBron went down this path of I'm going to leave, to me, in my mind and what I value, he never could have topped that at any point. And to a certain extent, this is what Kevin Durant has gone through, but on a much greater level.
He sealed his fate. He sealed his fate that many years ago. Yep. He could have won 4. He could have won 4 in freaking Golden State. He could have won 6 in Golden State. If he'd have stayed, let's say he won 6. Would we say, oh, he's Jordan now, he's got 6 just like Jordan? Of course not.
And this is why the Curry people stand up real loud and they say, like, look, this is what our guy's done, and we like him more than LeBron. And the LeBron people are like, you're crazy. But it's like, but our guy stayed. Yeah. I know our guy's smaller and he can't do a lot of the things LeBron can, and he's not going to have like half of the accounting stats in some cases. I get it. But he stayed. And then people will say, well, LeBron could have stayed if his organization was any good, if he had gone to a team like the Warriors. But the Warriors historically had a terrible organization.
They had no history. Yeah, I mean, Rick Barry and those folks, but that's way past decades. That's before even yours and my time.
Right.
All right, we're getting off track. We could have a Jordan-LeBron debate and talk forever about that. One-word answer. One-word answer. Legacy collection or platinum medallions?
Legacy.
Okay. What's the first card you remember buying as a kid? First card you remember buying. Doesn't have to be basketball, Adam. It could be anything. The card that you remember.
First single that I purchased as its own. It's 1978 Topps. Aaron James. He's played for the New Orleans Jazz, and it was in $1. It was $1 card in a case. I probably bought that card as a single in 1990.
Where'd you go to college? I forgot to ask you that.
University of Utah.
Utah. Okay. Who's the greatest Utah player in history? I have some ideas. It's not Hanno Metala.
It's probably Van Horn or Andre.
It's Van Horn or Andre, right? What about Doliak? Doliak's in the top 10.
He's the third of that group. But Van Horn was really
Van Horn's the real. Well, dude, Andre Miller was amazing. Go look at the all-time assist leaders. I mean, Andre Miller's sniffing around.
And Andre took him back to the Final Four after Van Horn.
Busted Kentucky's butt, right?
Yep.
I remember that.
Kentucky beat us in the final, I think. I
thought Andre Miller beat Kentucky one year. In fact, I'm almost certain.
Maybe you're right. I think 90.
One year they did. I got to go back and research that.
We got to go back and look. Those guys were great though.
I'm watching Andre Miller. I'm like, why is this little doughy looking fat kid like, hey, he's not fast. He doesn't move great laterally. He can't really shoot. He certainly can't jump. But he was a genius, and he was mean as hell. Like, a lot of people don't know how mean and tough the guy was, and physically strong, even though he didn't have, he didn't look like LeBron, but he was real super strong. Andre Miller had a tremendous, tremendous career. And by the way, has completely disappeared from the public eye since then. I don't know.
No idea. No idea. Do you still play at all? Do you still play ball?
Man, look, 3 years ago, I was trying to play with Cajun Jr., my 24-year-old son, and we were playing pickup. And I was tracking back for a LeBron block, and I actually trying to get it on the way up. So I lunged and I reached in. My hamstring exploded. This was like 7 weeks before the Atlantic City National. I had never pulled a big muscle, like a pec, a bicep, a hamstring, a quad. I've never pulled a big muscle. I destroyed my hamstring, and to this day, it's not the same. So that is the last time I ever played any sort of basketball, half court or full court.
I'm not very good, but I love to play, and I'm tall, as you know. So I play point guard. I know that sounds stupid, but I like bring the ball up down the court. I like to try to run the offense. It's just stupid. But I was short when I was a kid, and then I had this late growth spurt, and so I always learned to sort of play like a little guy, which would make you think that I'm good, but I'm not. I promise I'm not very good. So I went to this clinic that Andre Miller was at when we was at a Boys and Girls Club, and this guy they were like, oh, show us what you can do. He throws the ball. I've never seen anything like this. It's on a 10-foot hoop. Throws the ball off the wall, raises up 360s before he catches the ball and like tomahawks it down. And I was like,
what?
Yeah. Now he was coming out of college. So this
I wouldn't have guessed it though, right? Yeah.
Never would have guessed that Andre Miller had this in him. Never in a million years. But just goes to show, like, these guys are so much better, like so unbelievably better than what we could ever imagine.
Who's the best player you ever played against, pickup or otherwise? You got any big names you ever played with?
I played a game of pig, not real ball, but a game of pig against a guy who got a summer league. Spencer, what's Spencer's last name? Who got a summer league invite from the Jazz, and he played for Utah State, and he was really good. And I got him down PI to nothing, which was pretty cool. Pretty cool. He then proceeded to hit 15-footer after 15-footer and beat me, but that was it.
Couldn't close him out.
Who did you play?
That's fun stuff. I've gotten to play against a lot of NBA pros. Got to coach NBA pros. Oh yeah, cool. Dude, I was a pretty decent player. I mean, I played in college and played baseball and basketball in college. And I'll just tell a quick story. So when I was in law school at LSU, right, I went to undergrad in Loyola in New Orleans, played baseball and basketball there, NAIA school, right, played point guard and pitcher. Came back to law school at LSU. That was the era, if you'll recall, this was 98 to 2000. Master P, famous rapper, was getting into the sports agent business. Okay, so not only was he a rapper, a promoter, and all that stuff, but he was trying to get into the sports agencies because all rappers want to be pro athletes, all pro athletes want to be hip hop artists, right? We know this, or actors. So Master P was in there. So Master P had everybody you could think of coming through Baton Rouge, and he was pitching them. He was paying for them to fly into Baton Rouge. So I got to play against a lot of pros. I mean, of course, I played against Shaq as well, like in the dungeon at LSU. So I got to play against Shaq. Nobody's bigger or better than that, literally. But I got to play against Randy Moss. Got to play against Jason Terry, came through there. Obviously, all those guys that played at LSU, the Stromiles and all those folks. And so I got to play a 3-on-3 tournament against Michael Finley in Houston, which was interesting. And by the way, he is 6'8", 225, and an absolute freak of nature, when he was in his Mavs prime. So I got to play against a bunch of players. And the most fun is, more recently, I was an EYBL coach. So we had a Nike program here in Louisiana. And I was the lead recruiter. So I got to coach against Booker and Ben Simmons and Jason Tatum and Tyus Jones and go down the list, Devin Booker and all of these studs, DeAndre Ayton, all those guys. So I got to coach against those guys and got to kind of lead my troops against those guys. Our every single player we ever coached in the EYBL got a Division I offer. So it was great. We sent all those kids to college. It was great. It's a great platform. The Nike EYBL is incredible, right? Top 40 programs in the country. But I guess the most notable will be Skylar Mays. Skylar Mays, who's right now trying to catch on. He was a Laker last year. He was a Blazer. He was a Hawk, drafted by the Hawks, and so he's still trying to catch on. So he's probably the one name that resonates that I feel most familiar with, that we spent the most time with. He was a great kid, fantastic kid. Watched him from 5th grade all the way till now. Trying to catch on with an NBA team. So.
Tell me real quick, and I know you probably don't want to keep talking about it. Tell me real quick, of all those guys that you got the chance to play or meet, or play against or meet or any of those things, tell me one guy who was either way cooler or way less cool than, like, what I mean is like somebody who you had an amazing interaction with, or you wouldn't have guessed that's how that person would be, or somebody who was not at all who you hoped to be.
I can't think of any. I can't think of. I mean, it wasn't like we sat down and had a conversation, right. But
that's fair.
I don't remember any of those guys being a-holes. I mean, I think NBA guys like really yearn to go back and play pickup basketball. when it's written into a lot of contracts where they're not really supposed to do it. And some guys are just like, don't put it in my contract. Jamal Crawford, don't put it in my contract. I am playing. And that's kind of changed and become more accepted in NBA contracts, I think, over the years, if I had to guess, because you see pro-ams with pros coming out. We saw it during COVID, after that when guys were just showing up at open gyms and playing pro-am stuff like that. So I think those guys love to play pickup basketball. They love to talk trash. They love to have trash talk to them. They love to be challenged by the common folk like me and guys like us. So none of those guys were rude. None of those guys were obnoxious. And I'm honestly, Adam, this was 25 years ago. So it's so long ago. I'm trying to remember, some of the other pros that I got the chance to play against. A bunch, who was great was a guy named Bo McCaleb. He was he went to UNO back when UNO was Division I. Then they weren't. Now they are again. He went overseas and he was international FIBA Player of the Year for a couple of years and led whatever the big league. I think it was the what's it called? Maybe it was the Spanish league. I can't remember who he played for, but he was an absolute beast. Got a chance to play against him, left-handed guy. I think he led the nation in scoring, actually, his senior year. All right, we're way off. Let's get back. Is there a price for everything? Is there a price for everything in your collection, or is there something where you don't even want to hear? You don't want to hear an offer.
I always like getting offers on everything. But there's a lot of cards that I wouldn't sell. I don't think
you would not sell. There's not a price for everything, like double comps. Like there's something where you would say, I don't need it. I don't want it. Like I'm not moving it.
There's only two cards that I think of that I think there's zero chance of me ever selling. One's that Jordan rookie that I told you about. And
1.5.
The other's your favorite player, your Karl Malone rookie that started it all for me. So those are probably
which rookie? Which Karl Malone rookie?
Just the 86 Fleer.
Oh, 86 Fleer is the rookie all of a sudden. No,
Malone doesn't. For some reason, they didn't make a star card.
They didn't. Okay, I'm just assuming.
Isn't that weird? They should have.
I know.
Ewing
well,
got
just like they should have
card.
made an 86 Fleer Stockton.
And an 87 Fleer Stockton.
Or an 87 Fleer Something. Give me something. You know what I mean?
So stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a first round pick, and they kept him. Like they're always like taking the Utah guys. Like, here's one for you. Rudy Gobert didn't get put in the main Prism set.
I swear, I swore if you brought up Rudy Gobert, I was just going to turn off record and we were going to end this video. You are really pushing it right now.
I love Rudy Gobert. I can't hide it. I love him. I always will. I can't do anything about it. I could sit here and talk. I could sit here and talk about it for an hour or two.
All paths lead to Rudy Gobert when it comes to Adam. You have a podcast. Tell me about the podcast. How often are you clicking record and doing that now? It seems like less than you used to a little bit.
I've just been so busy. I try to. I'd like to make it once a week. Right now, it's probably once every 3 weeks. Ironically, I want to do something on the CT scan stuff and probably do that either today or tomorrow. Yeah. So I want to do that. I want to give my thoughts on that real quick.
Can I ask you a question about that? Are we sure that it really works the way people think? I've been in too many MRIs. I know what a CT scanner looks like, right? I've broken anything you can imagine playing sports all my life. I've been in probably 10 or 12 MRIs. Maybe that's why my brain's so screwed up. But are we sure that it can look into and see every card in the box and truly identify it? Are we talking about player, serial number? I mean, I don't know, man. I've seen MRIs. I can't tell what the doctor's even looking at when he shows me my MRI.
Not to bury my episode today, but I'm going to, at least somewhat. There's lots of questions to be answered. Like how far we can go in, how big the box has to be, exactly what details. But Boston Card Hunter did a fantastic job with the guy from this company. I should know the details here, but he did a fantastic job being able to see into the box. Like, Brian, there's times where you can see the name, you can see the serial number, you can see the fabric, you can see all
what
of those.
What about Prism? You can't look in Prism packs. I mean, they're all stacked on top of each other. I mean, can you?
I think if the Prism card has some sort of emboss, so like a serial number, this is okay. Again, burying my thing today. Like the 97 Metal Universe set.
Yes.
They're going to be able to see the serial number on the back of the card.
Really?
I think
even if it's in the middle of the pack. I don't know. I'm asking. I'm not saying, hey, everybody go get, So
because the card has different thickness. This is where the emboss is so important because it can pick that up, the emboss. So the stamp is not flat. If the stamp was entirely flat, they wouldn't be able to find it. But because it's not, they're going to be able to see that. That's like, I guess that's
There's
how
a
the
setting that you could, yeah. Well, let me ask you another question, and this is may not be very well received, but let me preface it by saying I don't own a CT scanner. I don't cheat. I don't lie. I don't commit fraud, and I don't open wax. Okay, so I really have no dog in this hunt.
Me either on all those things.
Okay, but my question is this: this is not against the law. Like, it's my box. I own it. Yeah. Can't I do whatever the hell I want with the box? I'm not saying morally. I'm saying legally. And again, I'm an attorney, but I'm not a real attorney. I'm a real estate attorney. So I'm not a litigator and I don't know laws. But like, I own this box of 2000 Ultimate Collection. I can do whatever I want with my box. Now, CT scanning a box and then letting that dictate whether you sell it or open it, that's a whole different moral, ethical dilemma. But for all the people out there that are yelling, that's a crime or take them to jail, I'm like, it's their box. It's their CT scanner. It's their property. Can't they do whatever they want? Yeah. I don't know. I'm asking.
I think legally, I think legally you're right. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. I think legally you're right. Whenever I'm asked a question like this is what happens in my mind. I say, what should I say here so that people will go, yeah, Adam's a good guy. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to tell you what I think. I think it's like the worst situation because anybody who's owning old wax is like an investment or like, hey, I might open this at some point. The moment you know that it's possible, everybody sort of assumes that that's probably what's happening. And then once that assumption's out there, it kind of destroys everything that's discoverable. So one of the reels that I've made several like this, is like whenever I see a 2003 Ultimate Collection box or case up for sale, I'm like, you guys realize that the best card in the world, the best basketball card in the world might be in this box. Well, that might not be true anymore. Like now there's a chance that somebody's going to say, well, every time I see a 2003 Ultimate Collection box, I'm going to get that thing, I'm going to scan it, and I'm going to find out, and then I'm going to put it back out there once I know
until proven innocent. That's the problem. Is our perspective is like now, Adam. That's terrifying. That's almost like the perspective that you have when you're buying a raw card that is really meaningful. It's like, well, if it's not graded, there has to be a reason. What's wrong with it, right? Is it in size? Is it trimmed? Is it cut? Did you try to grade it and crack it back out? You've got to overcome the presumption that something is wrong. That's how it's going to be with hobby wax. And I feel bad because there are hobby wax collectors, people that buy it, put it on ice, and what is their claim to fame? The pop never goes up. The pop only goes down, and hobby wax never goes down in price. Well, this is a concern. And again, I'm not telling people to go CT scan crap. I don't even know where to buy those things, and I thought they were like $15,000 or something like that, but I don't know enough about it.
This place, and this is what this Boston Card Hunter, the guy interviewed somebody who's basically saying, hey, we own something, and we are the ultimate experts at running this thing. Let us go get all the images for you. We'll do the work and we'll charge you X number of dollars. Like,
oh, so there's an entity out there that's like selling their services to let you know what's in your box. Again, wow, that is a problem for the hobby. And morally, ethically, I guess it's definitely we need to have a discussion, but legally, I don't know, man.
So even if it's like, okay, so it's entirely,
I don't know about wax. Let's put it that way.
It is entirely unethical to go do it and then to sell the box and not acknowledge it. Here's the problem. Unless there's a way to tell, unless there's a way to see and to know it, then somebody can just be like, well, I didn't do it. But
there's no way you could prove it had been scanned. Yeah, if that's what you're saying. Yeah, there's no chalk outline.
Once that happens, you're kind of screwed. Like
it's been done now. Dude,
it's so bad. But so then, that's the first question to me is like, what happens to historical wax? And then the next question is, okay, so Panini and Fanatics are really smart, and these are billion dollar entities, billion with a B. They're going to figure out a way to get around this
in 2 seconds. It's already discovered. They already have it. They know, dude. We know there's things that an MRI can't look through. Put it in the box, or put them in a different position in the box where they can't be examined through a CT scanner. Look, there's a lot of money in Panini, Fanatics, whoever is making these cards. I have it's their job to make them CT scan proof, and B, I am quite confident that in about 3 minutes they're going to figure out how to do that.
Me too. Me
If
too.
they know what's best for them and they want
They will.
longevity in the
And
hobby,
they
they
will.
got to.
But it doesn't fix the old stuff. And so my mind and like that's
No, it doesn't fix the old stuff, Adam. You're right.
and that's like you think about like you've seen some of like the images of Nat's collection. It's like, oh my goodness. And then
Holy
you
cow.
look at it and you go, wait a sec. Do we know? Do we know that hasn't been through there? And then somebody will pull something amazing.
Hold on. Let me be clear. You're not saying Nat did it. You're just saying somebody who sold it to Nat might have.
Yes.
Okay. Let me
Nat is not sitting in his house. Yes. Cool. Yes. Thank you for clarifying.
Pretty sure he's too busy for that. And
I'm pretty sure you're right.
Right. But you're saying he might have unknowingly. I mean, none of us knew anything about CT scanners until 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, whatever. There's a lot of people out there that may have unwittingly bought it.
So the other thing that this conversation takes us to is, remember how I mentioned the provenance? I didn't use the word, but I mentioned the provenance on the Playmakers Theater Jordan that I have. That is important because we know it's real. We know it's real because of the provenance, right? We know when the fakes started to come out. Yeah. We know where it like originates from. We're good. And not only that, but people also have been able to sort of differentiate just by looking at the card. So the provenance isn't even necessarily as important. The provenance on wax has just gone through the roof, like absolutely through the roof. So if Nat says, hey, I own this stuff, and he's trying to, trade it for something, and it's like, yeah, I've had it in my collection for 10 years. That matters all of a sudden way more than like, hey, there's some random box on eBay. That random box on eBay now, like if I don't know the story behind it and I feel like it's the sort of card that could be discoverable. One of the things that came out on this episode was if a card is totally flat, like a vintage card, like an 86, 87 Fleer thing, you're never going to be able to tell like on that because there's nothing.
I don't see either. They're stacked together like 86 Fleer. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah. It is what it is, right? But that's not the case once you get to, once you get to the 90s where
thick
it's like
cards that stand out or that have a patch, and then the other 11 cards in the pack don't.
Or just embossing or serial numbering.
Yeah.
Serial numbering will do that.
Well, the good thing for me is I was already scared to death to buy 90s. Trust me, nobody wants to go open, 94 finest boxes more than me or 97 Topps Chrome. But I've always been too scared, not because of CT scanners. I just now found out about this. I've always been scared about people that are resealing them, or I'm not an expert. I have not put the time in or done the due diligence to determine whether or not a box has been tampered with. And then, the BBCE stuff happens. And now I'm like, well, if these guys don't know, then I'm sure as heck not going to be able to tell what's real.
The Logan Paul.
Don't touch it. It's not worth the risk. Go buy your singles.
The Logan Paul Pokemon.
Scared me to death.
It was like, but I feel like the hobby since then has sort of like been on this comeback of like how important wax is and what a good investment it is. And the same as you, Brian, I've just never felt like I get it. Like exactly what you said, that one line of like, it's never increasing in population. It's always decreasing. That I've always bought into that. I've always liked that. Yeah. But now here we are, like, I wonder, like, and I hate saying this aloud because I don't want to feed into it, but I wonder how those boxes as an investment, those historical boxes, I don't understand how they can survive this at their trajectory. I think what's happened over the last few weeks, unless we find out that it's all fake, it's not real, that this isn't something we need to worry about, but I don't think that's the case. The trajectory of those things as investments is just.
You're not speaking it into existence. I mean, this is here, and it is it's going to be a hurdle that, wax investors are going to have to understand. If any of the guys watching or gals watching the video today are wax investors, chime in, man. That's what this is about. That's what this is. It's an open dialogue. We're basically just posing questions. I don't have answers on wax investments, and that's just not what I do. But I am curious to get the perspective of people out there that have bought wax with the intention of buying low, selling high, or that just collect wax. Folks that just collect wax. I guess if you're just a collector and you just like want to collect sealed packs or boxes or whatever, you're good to go. Well, what about this? What about the CT scanner looking at PSA 8 86 Fleer packs in a PSA 8? You know how they grade packs? Now, they already know when there's a Jordan in there because of the sequence and all that stuff. But, what about other packs that are graded? I don't know.
I think the graded packs will be still discoverable. The great thing the 86 has going for it is they're flat cards.
They're all flat.
They're just not. I don't think they're ever going to be able to see something. And then, although there's this sequence, there's changings.
You know already. Yeah, 86 clear is a bad example. I should not have used that.
But I don't know that you do though, because
Well, there's a flip. The sequence flips at a certain card, but if you see the top and you see the top card is how you can tell. The bottom card is as far as I know, a random sticker. So you may know what the bottom sticker is, but that won't tell you anything about the base cards that are in the pack on top of it. But if you look at the top card, you know the sequence, but you don't know when there's a flip, I think. I don't know. Right. I'm not an expert on that.
You and I are both speaking from a place where we're not experts. My understanding is exactly the same, where there are sequences and you can know who's going to come next if it maintains the sequence, but within the pack, there's a flip or a couple flips. And so you don't know a portion of the pack.
That's right. That's exactly right.
I think that's the case. Okay.
I think you're right. I think you know A, B, C, but then you know that's a turn, and so you won't know what's under it because that's the flip. That's the turn. I don't know. Again, this is something where I could bring an expert on the channel and he could explain it to both of us. So
that would be cool.
No more guessing from us. All right, let's we could do this for an hour, but let's talk about Basketball Card Fanatic magazine. Let's talk about our new partnership, where I'm going to try to use my big mouth to steer people to buy Basketball Card Fanatic magazine. First of all, before I go any further, is it true that your favorite issue ever is the August 22nd issue, number 24? This one right here. Is it true that's your favorite issue?
We should have made it issue 23. There's no question about that. But I love that issue. That's a great one.
Yeah, that's because it's the one that features Cajun Cardboard.
Features you.
I was like, it's back there. It's back up. I didn't autograph that. That's not serial numbered. I should have serial numbered it and give it to you. 1 of 1.
I should have brought it to the National. I get people asking me all the time, would you get so-and-so to sign it, or would you sign it? We don't see the magazines. They go from our printer directly to people's homes. They go straight to your mailbox for your monthly mail day.
I appreciate you including me in that. That was a really fun deal. And that's the first time anybody had really kind of interviewed me or asked me about my collecting or my pathway or my purpose. But it's funny because I'm described in there as a father, a husband, a lifelong collector, and then also an aspiring content creator. And so that was over 2 years ago. So we're getting there. I'm starting
no longer aspiring, legit. Have to be there Monday to listen to the
That's right. Top 100. Okay. So bcfmag.com, Adam. If people want to subscribe, tell us when, how much, what they get. Just give us the entire spiel because people want to know. I'm assuming, here's what I'm going to suggest everybody does. Go ahead and get a 12-month subscription. You can choose digital or print. If you choose print, you get the digital with it, right? But the print is, make sure I get this right, it's $120 a year. So $10 a month, basically. $10 a magazine. If you loved getting the Beckett magazine at your local card shop or in the mail and you're old like us, I'm older than you, but old like us, we're still old by hobby terms, right? If you remember getting those Beckett magazines, pay $120. It's $10 a month for 12 issues, 1 year subscription. You get the digital as well. So if you're new age, you can do that. But getting these magazines, it's like a mail day, man. It's like getting a card in the mail. And this last issue right here, I've got on your screen, is awesome. I mean, everybody remembers that dream team, the original dream team. Tell us more, Adam. Tell us what you get in a typical Basketball Card Fanatic magazine monthly issue.
So each issue is between 32 and 36 pages. Each issue is just basketball card content. It's all original, nothing that you've read before or seen before anywhere else. And each issue will have a big interview. Each one will have 2 or 3 articles from the community. There will be other articles about everything in the world that you can imagine with basketball cards, specific sets, things that are happening in the current market, all sorts of different things. And like you said, it's delivered to people's homes every month. The thing that I'll tell people are always like, how are you producing this at only $10 a month, basically, because the cost of printing and shipping is so high. So the magazine actually costs almost as much as it does for us to produce as it does for you to get it. It's an expensive, nice thing that comes in the mail every month in its own team bag too, by the way. It looks like a card, right? And the card comes in its own team bag. The reason that we're able to do it is because we have wonderful sponsors. Without those wonderful sponsors, namely Fanatics Collect, namely CGC, Leland's, Panini, all of those guys. Without them, we couldn't produce it every month because we would literally lose money on producing the magazine. It's really nice. So, but if you're somebody who just wants to read something digital, go just grab a digital subscription. But the thing that I want people to understand, and if you don't remember anything about BCF, this is what I want you to know. It's about the cards, right? It's all about the cards. So if you have something where you're like, I need the world to understand why this thing is cool and why I'm collecting it, and I need to do it in 1,000 words, BCF is the place where you're going to see that sort of article. You're scrolling over right now, the Dennis Rodman number 1 of 100, green issue 42. That was our friend MK Sports Cards. After he got that, I messaged him and I said, MK, can I please interview you on why you love this card? And we can talk about where it fits in the Rodman pantheon, what the deal looked like between you and Grant to get it and all that stuff. And we just talked for I think it's 8 pages long about the card, about why it matters. And so where so many other people are focused on, why is this, what is this worth and all the value changes. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's all good. We want to tell the stories, and we want collectors to tell their stories. And so that's why every month, like clockwork, 32 to 36 pages. The only thing that I'll say that it gets people confused is they'll be like, hey, I ordered the magazine, I didn't get it. What's the deal? In 2024, we now think we just get things right after we order them. Yeah. But a magazine is not one of those typical things, right? A magazine,
which is why it's awesome.
It is. It's totally.
You got to wait for it. Yeah, you got to check your mailbox.
You do, and it might come today. It might come tomorrow. There's a week-long period where it's it's going to come at some point, and then people get their magazines and they open it up, and this one, they open it up and they go, oh, hey, cool centerfold this month. I remember those 3 cool cards from 1991. Yeah. Then they get to, they get through their Olympic article, and they get to this next one that's an interview with David Ratliff, signed and slabbed, and he's got all these crazy opinions that are awesome. And then there's an interview about the face of the league, who's going to be the next face of the league of those 3 guys, and how that impacts their cards. And then there's just story after story. You'll spend a couple hours with the magazine every month, and it's fun. It's entertaining. It's fun. It's informative. And if you want that sort of thing, it's honestly the best deal in the world, because again, we don't make hardly anything, Brian. It's just all fun.
The interviews. Listen, I'm going to start scrolling. If you guys are on Instagram and you're watching, first of all, I say this probably once a quarter. If you are not on Instagram and you collect basketball cards or any sports cards, get on Instagram. It's free. You get an education every single day. You get to share it with people who are addicted to the same thing that you are. And eventually you'll make lifelong friends, big time friends, better friends than the friends that you have in your locale. So what I was going to get at is every one of these issues has an interview. The names that I am seeing on these interviews are the who's who of the hobby. And I'm after I'm looking at this, I am very flattered that you even included me. Maybe it was before you knew who I was. Arena Design, you got to be kidding me. Arena Design, the P. Ryan collection with Patrick Ryan, the Croatian twins. If you guys are on Instagram and you collect cards on a high level, you should recognize a lot of these names. Mr. B's collection, for God's sakes. I've seen his collection. John, the basketball card guy. Never seen that guy not smiling. Eye Collector 23 is huge. Exquisite Collector. And then, one of my let me keep going because I saw Philip Goss, who might be my hero, right? Yeah. Unbelievable collection. You're going to see some of the biggest, baddest, greatest cards in the world, and you'll get the perspective of some of the biggest collectors that are out there. And it's entertaining and it's educational, which is my goal with the YouTube channel. So if you like what I do, you're going to like this. It's just, instead of some guy with a Cajun dialect screaming these things at you, you get to actually read them yourself at your leisure while you drink your coffee.
And if you ever want to write something, this is your way to get your awesome writing out into the world. I'd like to say we have 1 million subscribers. We don't, right? We have subscribers in the hundreds. We'd like to get to the thousands, right? But it's there. They're the most passionate, crazy basketball card fans in the world who subscribe to it and who read it every month. And honestly, Brian, I think if you ever want to tell a story in your way where you get to write it down and then show it, because our designer, Kevin, is just unbelievable, right? You look at the inside of each magazine and you go, holy smokes, how did this guy put this together? The idea is, what made the 90s so great? They took real chances. They did big, crazy things with their designs. They took big chances.
That's Dunkin' Go Nuts.
It's what we do every month. It's what we do every month. And you look at it and you go, how did you guys come up with that? It's all from the brain of Kevin. He's my partner in this. And without him, it would be me like writing things and getting people that are just like on white pages, and it would have only lasted three issues. As it is, we're almost 50 issues in. We've been doing this for 4 years, and people email me or text me every month like, hey, is it coming soon? When's it coming? Because they love it. And as long as people love it and we can have our sponsors continue to support us and enough people keep subscribing, we're going to keep doing it. Even though it seems insane in 2024, it's been a lot of fun, and we've done really well with it, I think, so far.
Guys, I'm especially appealing to the older folks. Well, I appeal to the young folks as well, because it's important to understand where everything, how do we get here, right? It's important to understand history. You're going to be doomed to repeat it. So for you young people, it's an educational tool. For you old people, it's nostalgia. It evokes memories of the Beckett magazines, or even if you're older than that, those old fat price guides that were like, this big. They were tiny little squares. Adam, talk us through the practical stuff for old people like me. If you want to order a 12-month subscription, print and digital, you click this 12-month button. It's going to take you here. You decide print or digital. The printed is $125 a year, so about a little over $10, $10 and whatever that is, $11 a month, something like that. Then you're going to hit subscribe. Oops, sorry. You're going to choose print right here. Then you're going to hit subscribe. I can't go through all this because I'm not going to put my home address in there.
It's going to take you 10 seconds. You're literally going to order. You're going to get there from beginning to end in under a minute.
Where do you put the promo code in? Number 3, payments and discounts?
Yeah, it's right toward the end. They ask you for the promo code, and definitely make sure to enter into Cajun. But most purchases that we have these days, somebody's entering in via promo code, so it's not hard to find. You'll see it along.
Easy to find, can't miss it. Just like you do on Fanatics Weekly. If you're going to do it, I suggest you do it. I suggest you give it a chance and use the promo code, because I'm telling Adam that me and my big mouth and my growing YouTube channel is a good thing for his Basketball Card Fanatic magazine. I am asking him to trust me, so you guys can make me look good by ordering an annual subscription and using the promo code Cajun. Anything else you want to tell us about the magazine, Adam? Anything new? What's coming up? Give us a small sliver hint as to, if they subscribe today, what the next issue might include.
So you can't share this anywhere that's like easy to find. This is only for people who made it to the end of the issue or the end of the episode. Okay. You're gonna love this. So I found one of the 5 guys who pulled one of the original redemptions for a PMG championship.
Oh, okay. Because we talk about this, because I own a redemption PMG champ.
Really?
You own a redemption PMG champ.
That's why I asked you the question, because for a few weeks ago you were like, why is Adam asking me this? It's because I found the guy who actually got the 50 of 50 redemption, and I will talk to him this month about his whole story. And so,
does he have the card? Did he redeem it?
He did. Yeah.
Okay,
and
good. Okay.
The whole story, the whole thing from beginning to like when he got the card, what that whole thing was like. I've got images of the set. I found out how the set came to him. The whole thing. You're going to read it and you're going to go, like, nobody else has ever had this story before. And part of me thought, I'm just going to put it in a reel, because my average reel right now gets about 40,000 views. I know it's kind of a crazy number.
Do both.
I might do a reel at some point, but I wanted to tell the story via the magazine at first, so that those people who subscribe could get that and go, holy smokes, this is a crazy story. Yeah. It, again, is 27 years in the making. Like, it happened 27 years ago.
Forget again, we're in a different kind of Jordan world here as far as what we do. We do this every day. For those of you watching that don't know about the championship PMG, correct me if I'm wrong, Adam. In 1997, Metal Universe Championship packs, there were 5 redemption cards in all of the packs in all of the world. And if you pulled one of those 5 redemption cards, you would get not just the Michael Jordan Championship PMG, you get the whole set Championship PMG, serial numbered to 50. So every single card in the entire set, serial numbered to 50, which today is worth $1 million safely.
In the article I said, I believe it's probably $2 million today.
I think so too. Like, I'm thinking of the MJ, and if the MJ is going to net you $250, whatever.
Especially because
it's a lot.
I'm not going to steal anything from the interview, obviously, because I want to respect subscribers. But what I will say is he was the guy who pulled the 50 of 50. And if you know that most of the ultra high-end copies that have been graded are the 50 of 50s. Most of Nat's ultra high-end set is 50 of 50s. And the other major set that's out there right now that I don't think has been made public is also the 50 of 50 set. And so I helped broker a 50 of 50 semi-star, I won't say who, sell recently for over 30 grand.
Dang.
I know, dude. And you told me, once upon a time, you told me in BCF, you were like, Adam, you're not going to believe what some of these reds sell for. And I was like, what are you talking about? Dude. And you said, there's a specific red I'm going to tell you about right now that you're not going to believe what the card is sold for.
Yeah.
Do you remember who it was? Was it Glenn Rice?
Mitch Richmond.
It was Mitch Richmond. And you told me that it had recently sold for like 40 grand.
Yeah,
and I was like,
over 30 grand. Yeah.
I was like, you're crazy. There's no way that's true. But it turned out Mitch Richmond's like rare 90s.
He's one of the lowest pops, one of the hardest to track down. The Mitch Richmond was a big one. Yeah. So that's a big boy card.
So that's the same thing. That's the same thing that's happened a little bit with the PMG champ set on the ultra high end grades. Yeah. And it's me and the guy who pulled this. And so I'm tempted to just tell the whole story, but seriously, like, it's so good, Brian. You're gonna read it. And you're gonna go, and also you're gonna find out about yours, because both your Jordan and my Jordan PMG are 2 of the 4. We own half of the ones that have ever been found.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, for sure. I can't wait. Guys, if you want it, bcfmag.com. Follow the very simple directions. Use the promo code Cajun, all capital letters. It's worth $10 a month. Go do it. Adam, anything else we need to talk about? You dropped 3 of your kids off at 3 different schools on the first day of school. Were you happy to drop any of them off, or was it tough to drop all 3 of them off? Because, if you got like maybe a 14 to 17-year-old, sometimes you have that little, finally I get a little, get away from this person that knows everything and hates their parents.
Well, you and I, like, you've got 7 kids. I have just barely more than half as many kids as you do, but I feel like I'm swimming half the time. My identity in this world is like number 1 is husband and dad, right? Like it's like the thing that matters to me. And so I'm that dad who just wants my kids near me all the time. And as they grow older, I'm always like, how are you getting, we have a saying in our family, is put a brick on your head. Our kids, I just feel like they just grow up so fast. And, when we've talked about cards this whole time, and now we're talking about something that's like more serious, but like, I just can't believe how fast our kids grow up. And, no, I was sad to let them all go today, but they're all happy and they're all amazing, and I'm super proud of them. And like you are yours. I wish mine were as athletic as yours. I see yours doing the soccer stuff, and I'm like, I wish my kids were out doing that stuff.
Well, I married an Olympic gold medal winner in track, so I'm just kidding. No, I didn't. She has no athleticism at all, so it all came from me, Adam. It all came from me. My wife could care less about my daughters playing college soccer.
I'm sitting here going, man, I'm learning all this stuff.
Hey, she cares about what their hair looks like. How's your ponytail looking? How the shorts fit? Are you happy? Are you this? She could care less about the sports stuff, which is why I married her. I love her. And thank God, because if I married a psycho about sports like me, we would probably be fighting each and every day. So, Adam, thanks always for joining the channel, man. This will not be the last time. I'm going to take you up on your offer. I'm going to get you back on here, and we're going to pick a topic, and we're going to argue about basketball history, and we might even agree. But it will not include Antoine Carr. It will not include Adam Keefe. It will not include Howard Isley. It will not include Rudy.
You brought up Matt Harpering today. You brought up Matt Harpering.
I did. I opened Pandora's box by mentioning a former obscure Jazz player, and so you thought it was okay to bring Gobert onto the channel, which it's not. Gobert falls in with the Isaiah Thomases, the Paul Pierces, the Kendrick Perkins. Those are names that we do not mention on the Cajun Cardboard YouTube channel.
Okay, can I ask one question before you go?
Yeah, sure.
Do you have a top 5 or top 10 that you can just rattle
off? Players or cards?
Players.
I can definitely get you 1 through 4, and then after that it gets really tough, and I don't like to pinpoint. So Jordan, LeBron has passed Kareem in my book. Kareem, and then Wilt. That is my first 4 for sure. Bird and Magic are definitely in my next 4. And then you've got your Kobe, you got your Duncan, who are, I know people are going to think I'm crazy, but just go dive into the numbers. They are very difficult. Kobe and Duncan is very difficult.
I have Duncan ahead of Kobe personally. So.
I think a lot of people who have really poured in the time and energy and done the due diligence might agree with you. And I can't make that call.
So I would love to talk about that with you sometime, either on your channel or on mine or wherever you want to, because it would be fun, but we should record it because I think people would like it. Let me just say this real quick. people, for some crazy reason in our hobby, think that everything has to be like player ranking and like collectability ranking are the same thing. They are not the same
they're
thing.
drastically different.
Like Kobe Bryant, and you, I know you hate it when I talk about Kobe because Jordan guys, let me let everybody know let people know on a secret here. Jordan guys hate it when another Jordan guy starts talking about Kobe Bryant. They hate it. They hate it more than anything.
You're mad at me for mentioning LeBron recently, Adam. I'm mentioning LeBron a lot lately because I think his cards are primed for a little bit of a run. And everybody knows I'm a Jordan guy, but even my Jordan guys are like, shut up with the LeBron talk. Stop talking about LeBron.
But like, I don't know, man. I question whether I'm not going to say that because I'm going to get in trouble. I was going to say something about LeBron and Kobe, and I'm not sure about that. But here's what I know is true, right? Those two lists are totally different. And Tim Duncan, in my opinion, is a top 5 or 6 player ever, but he's not a top 10 player ever collectability wise. And that's okay.
No,
that's okay.
No way. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. The all-time leader in assists and steals who played for a franchise that shall be named on another date is also not a top 10, top 20, top 30, top 50 collected player, but he certainly belongs in there as far as basketball accomplishments as well. So that's a great episode, a Kobe Duncan episode. We'll get tons of hateful comments about comparing, having the audacity to compare Tim Duncan to Kobe Bryant.
People are stupid though. Like Tim Duncan, he didn't ever leave, and he did. Okay, I'll shut up. I could go.
Because Kobe's got a million arguments why he's number 5. Like, and I have Kobe somewhere between 7 and I have Kobe 7, 8. You know, you got to have Magic Bird ahead of Kobe for lots of reasons, but that's an old person perspective, so maybe that wouldn't work. All right, somebody's home from school, or somebody forgot to get dropped off at school.
We got the young one here. The youngest, the 3-year-old. She's got her bluey shirt on. She wanted to come say hi to Brian. Say hi to Brian.
All right.
Say hi. And on that note, Brian, thanks for having me, dude.
Cool. Adam, thanks for joining. Y'all keep collecting, stay positive in the hobby, and peace.